man woke up superhuman.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I have another wonderful article for everybody, and honestly, yes I know, I have anime videos cooking in the pot, alright? With me going over animes and reviewing crazy things. Yes, I still have those in the backdrop. Yes, I still have things like such as me talking about the Unreal Tournament gaming demo. I most definitely will talk about that too, because that junk, it was amazing. But before I do all that, I kind of have to talk about the rest of us, The Last of Us Part 2 trans controversy explained. Now, I don't know who this is written by specifically, but I can already tell like that based on, because I read through this entire article, and it is a big fluff of nothing. The entire article is written by somebody who really doesn't understand video games. They don't understand the reasons why they get invested in certain characters and why they don't like half of this stuff that happened. Now, before I get into this, I do have to say that Sony and Naughty Dog are really going above and beyond to keep people from talking about spoilers like in The Last of Us 2, because yes, it was spoiled. People did talk about it, and mind you, yes, if you were putting up the video footage, yes, them striking down your channel, I fully understand, but they have been striking people who have been talking about this debacle, and it is a problem. And let me go on to talk about this, right? Because this is an article that has nothing. Well, they talk about some of the spoilers, but at this point, who doesn't know about it? That, and also Sony, you really need man to stop DMCAing channels, because that will literally lead to problems. Now, mind you, I'm not talking about this article because of The Last of Us. I'm mostly talking about this because of the mindset. And pretty much, where do I begin? First and foremost, let's start out with this, right? To whereas that the article starts off with, who are games for anyway? What kinds of people deserve to be depicted in them? There's a small but loud minority of people out there who want to tell you that video games belong to them, not you. Lady gamer, person of color, not straight, non-conforming. They will persistently interrupt your opinion about games and desire to enjoy them as forcing a agenda. Now, what does that necessarily mean? What that basically means is like that guys like me, people like who have been gaming since, I have been in diapers and whatnot since I've been gaming for this long, right? And like that, they're gonna come at me and tell me, hey man, you guys constantly keep telling me like that this game would be great man, like if it had this type of person in it, or if it had a girl or whatever. Like, I just want to play my games in peace. And honestly, whenever you talk about adding certain thing in that don't need man to be added, well, we say that you're forcing an agenda. And to a certain extent, yes, most of the time you guys are. Now, does that mean like that man, they're always doing it? Of course not, but is what it is, right? Now, honestly, the article does kind of go talking about like The Last of Us and some of the controversy because of it. And honestly, the most important thing about it is these first two paragraphs, like right here, where that this one talks about where that this part of the article, it talks about the leaks and everything that kind of went on with the Last of Us 2 and why people are angry. And then this one goes on to talk about, I believe, another YouTuber, or at least a website, a post about the leaks from the right-leaning website One Angry Gamer bemoans Naughty Dog's woke anti-Christian agenda while savoring the dismay of fans of Ellie, a character described as as the much beloved lesbian icon for SJWs who love to sing this game's praises on Twitter, but had no intention of buying the game. The post concludes the baseless statement that naturally everyone is losing their minds, uniting in mutual disgust. To a certain extent, the One Angry Gamer, like, they do kind of have a point, right? Because most of these people who make these arguments, who talk a certain way, right? Usually whenever we say that people like in this type of fashion, right, we're like that, they don't know what they're talking about, or like that they don't buy the games. They get angry at things that are obviously explained, like in the game, right? They get angry at things that necessarily don't need man to be said, but yet they get angry at them anyway, such as they kind of believe that people have a problem with The Last of Us 2 because Ellie is now seen as a lesbian. Most people don't really care about that. Like, I don't really know too many people personally. Well, better yet, I don't know anybody personally who has a problem with Ellie's sexual orientation. They mostly have a problem with the fact that, hey man, this character that I love, something bad is going man to happen to them, and it's kind of the people are kind of forcing me to do it. That's pretty much the bigger misnomer here. But who knows, right? This one does kind of go into Abby, the brand new character's appearance, and everybody being angry about it, because, you know, whether either she is trans or not, you know what I'm saying, like that, people kind of have a problem with that, right? And to be fair, like, they actually have a really good reason for thinking that, right? Citing an anonymous source, a source with unstated ties to Naughty Dog, Australian outlet Sausage Roll report, people who question the progressive narrative that Naughty Dog are injecting into their games are at high risk of losing their jobs. Which, to be fair, this entire part here was like you can argue these things like that, they don't really matter. So what if Ellie's a lesbian? So what if, man, like, you're taking control of a certain character to kill off another beloved character? So what, man, how Abby looks, whatever, right? But I'm like the biggest bell to me, or at least like the biggest flag, the biggest red flag, is the fact that Naughty Dog has, like, there are articles of Neildruckmann saying, man, like that, he has fired people because they didn't agree with what he wanted to put out or whatever. Of people saying, hey man, this is kind of the same as everything else. You're pushing a weird, a weird agenda. Like, yo, like, that's a problem. Like, so like, don't do that because this and that, right? And then he went on to fire them. Now, mind you, some of the examples in which that he did give were some people kind of going above and beyond. But I'm like, still, you know, like, it is kind of crazy to fire people just because they don't like your ideas, right? And moving on to the next sausage roll paragraph. This one kind of solidifies something like that was pretty interesting to me. That actually kind of came up a little bit after when Amy Hennig left, right? To where that this one talks about like that Neil, so like that it kind of paints something about Neildruckmann actually kind of having a weird agenda, to whereas that originally The Last of Us and everything else was kind of written in all the Last of not Last of Us, the like Uncharted series of games were all written by Amy Hennig. And then pretty much it went on to say that once Amy Hennig left, Neildruckmann took over like the Left Behind DLC, which is why Ellie's sexual orientation like suddenly changed, and then them trying to force a romantic relationship between Nadine and Chloe, which is actually pretty interesting to me, because it's like, like you say that there is no agenda, and then pretty much you force one on the people because you just think that it'll be cool, man, to have the two girls kiss, you know, that kind of silly thing. Now, the funny thing about all of this is that the more that I kind of check onto these, right, or at least like, because I'm going over this like paragraph by paragraph, because believe me, like just trying to like debunk the mindset of somebody like who's constantly like just doesn't get it like that. This thing reads like somebody who just doesn't get it, right? Because again, this part of the article goes into the whole slippery slope thing in terms of if you have this, then pretty much this is going to happen, which is funny to me because like as soon as they kind of put this like into words, it's actually happening, right? To where is that you give an inch, you take a mile, right? First Ellie kisses a girl. Now every new character in the game is genderless. And pretty much they made this character, to pretty much to like appease to genderless transgender people who pretty much are like, well, hey man, like you don't know what man like her sex is, or man like if this is even is a her, could be a boy, could be a girl, right? Because again, if I do this, you tell me, man, like, is this a boy or a girl? That a boy or a girl? You wouldn't know. Is what it is. But like if I did this, you'd be like, oh wait, man, like that's a middle-aged woman. Or some of you would say, hey, man, like that's like a teenage boy. Is what it is, right? But again, when you say take an inch, I'm gonna give an inch, take a mile, and then like you show this picture here, like it's not helping your argument, right? This line of reasoning is known as a logical fallacy because essentially it's never accurate, even though I just gave you a accurate example of that. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not gonna talk about everything, man, like in this part because it's kind of silly, but you know. But like they go on to talk about like the alarmist hand waving of this, like it neglects the account. It neglects to account for some pretty obvious elements of story and setting. Maybe the characters aren't that bothered about looking macho or giving a constant threat. Of death. Death to the whole fungal zombie apocalypse thing. Which, to be fair, if you want to make this part, or better yet, if you may want to make this little argument about like, well, now maybe the characters they honestly don't care, man, about how they look, right? Then technically, wouldn't you argue, man, like that, if this man is supposed to be a thing of we don't care about our looks, if we don't care about man the world around us, then technically, what's the point, man, of you even identifying as being a lesbian? Wouldn't man like the mindset just be, hey man, we got some place, man, where man we are living safe. We need man to repopulate. We need to like get the women pregnant, have babies, farm and hunt and be as self-sufficient as possible, so like that we can get everything back up to how like it used to be. Which is funny because like they never bring this stuff up, man, whenever like they talk like that, you know, because like it's just a thing of like I'm just going, man, to make an argument because, right? Now she does go, or she whoever's writing this dang on article, they do go on to kind of point out the two main arguments which people do have, which is, or at least about Abby, right? Is that Abby is not or at least like most of the internet's arguments, right? Because that's what this whole portion is about, right? Abby is not conventionally attractive to straight men, right? You know, unquestionably the most important audience to all, for all games. I don't think it's that she's attractive. It's the fact that we don't know if this is a she. We don't know if this is a he who is who is transitioning. We don't know. All we know is like that, man. This is a character who is muscular and pretty much like is angry for some reason and is trying, man, to kill everybody. that so like that is a problem. Or man, pretty much she's killing off our beloved characters. We don't like that, right? Naughty Dog asks players to quite literally identify as a person who is gender non-conforming or trans by making Abby a playable character. Now, I know that this is very, very oddly written, but pretty much it's like Naughty Dog is asking people to play as a transgender character, and they honestly believe like that is like the reason why people are angry. Nobody is angry because Abby is a lesbian or transgender, or it's just a muscular girl, or you have to play as a girl. People do not mind that. People have a problem that, man, this is a brand new character in a series that didn't have any of this garbage in it, and now, man, like it's just like infesting the sequel, and pretty much, man, like you kind of like send it out, man, with a cherry on top, man, known as Abby, a character that people just don't like. So it's like, or better yet, like that, they don't like, man, what is happening. So it's just one of those things, right? Now, here is something that kind of got me kind of like laughing a little bit, because again, right, because they go on to say that some people have been doing the American character design versus Japanese character design, right? Where pretty much you have muscular Abby, right? And then on the then on the opposite side, right, you have Tifa Lockhart. She's very pretty, beautiful, so on and so forth, and she's muscular, and we love her, right? You know, and pretty much they do go on and to kind of say that at first people had problems with Tifa because of her brand new design, because they said that they had to tone her down, right? Which technically, man, to a certain extent, right? People had a problem with the Tifa in Final Fantasy VII because they took away the breast jiggle. That's why, which technically to me, it seemed to fit better because she does have a sports bra under her tank top. You know, like they just never took note of that, right? Now, people don't like Abby. Well, hey, rewind and you'll understand, man, why, man, I say that, right? But honestly, the whole Tifa thing was mostly because of breast jiggle. It wasn't because of, man, like her godly, unnatural breasts, right? I mean, again, like her breasts are one thing, but then again, you also got to remember too, man, like that they had to shrink Barrett, because Barrett, man, was a lot bigger than what he is now. Now on to the most controversial part of this whole article to me, which was the second. The second is a bit trickier. The second is a bit trickier to parse. On the surface, a handful of gamers are angry that The Last of Us Part 2 asks players to take on the part of a villain who supplements two fan favorite characters. But really, this isn't about Ellie or Joel. Playing as the villain isn't new at all. And similar shifts in perspectives have been widely celebrated in games since far back as Metal Gear Solid 2 and Halo 2. You don't believe me? You ask Donkey. Now, here's the part of this whole thing like that I find to be the most interesting thing of all, which tells me that this person knows nothing about anything, or anything about like why people are really angry at this, or better yet, you gave the reason, and then you tried to say like, I saw you tried, man, to like sidestep it and try, man, to like do some weird counterattack, but it's like, no, like this counterattack, it doesn't work, right? Playing as villains in Metal Gear Solid 2, what villain do I play in Metal Gear Solid 2? You don't play as Solidus. You don't play as, Ocelot. Like, you don't play as Colonel Gerlukovich, Olga. Like, you don't play as those people. You don't you don't play as Vamp. You don't play as pretty much any villain in Metal Gear Solid 2. You play as Snake, to Snake, or man, you play as Raiden. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, man. Like this Metal Gear Solid 2 VR missions, you play as Olga when she has the little ninja suit on. That's it. But other than that, you don't do that, right? In Halo 2, you play as the Arbiter, and guess what, man? The Arbiter, man, like he kind of like defects and starts helping the humans. You know what's else interesting, man? Like about that, the Arbiter and Raiden, people don't say like they didn't like them. So I don't even know why you're even bringing those two up, right? Metal Gear Solid 2, right? Raiden does not chop. He does not chop Snake in half, right? Right, man, and goes around saying, hey guys, I am the hero now, right? The Arbiter doesn't shoot Master Chief in the back and becomes the brand new hero. That's not what happens, right? Here's something from me to you, right? If you wanted to have this argument, I don't see nobody out there praising Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I really don't, right? The strongest person, man, like on that, so like during the Virtuous mission and also during Operation Snake Eater, it was the boss, or in this case, the Joy, right? Ocelot's mother. She was the strongest person, a person in under Volgan's command, right? Volgan was a gay man, right? Right? Right, man, like who openly, man, like violated and tortured people for no reason other than, man, like because I could, right? But only cared about really one person, which was Major Rykov. Isn't that interesting, right? You know what I mean? But like I don't hear man anybody talking about that. I don't hear anybody praising that. You know what I'm saying, man? For being, man, like inclusive and pretty much diversive, right? Even in your little example of Metal Gear Solid 2, right? Like you don't bring up Vamp. Vamp is bisexual, so why don't you bring that up? Oh, what's that, man? You don't? Because he's a guy? Oh, well, I'm sorry. Let's move on then. What's really ruffling my feathers are the perspectives of being forced. Understand and sympathize with gender non-conforming trans people. If you learn to care about Halo for jawed aliens, surely you'd be possible to muster up a bit of empathy for other human beings, for another human being, even one that doesn't look like Tifa Lockhart. I don't want to have to keep saying it, because again, like most of this is kind of just like it just repeats itself. You know what I'm saying? We're like that. It's talking about you should care, man, about other people. You should care about this and that, right? Naughty Dog is here, man, to challenge, man, like the outdated notions of like who needs to be seen in games. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't. And then pretty much, man, like the argument kind of changes to talking about all these other people, man, like character creators, like why they exist, and talking about like how like people who transitioned, like that they they make their characters the opposite gender with long hair, and if they can't do this, they can't, man, do that, stuff like that, right? You know what I'm saying? For cisgender players, it may be worth considering why the idea of playing as a gender non-conforming character is off-putting. Oh boy, like, cause this is starting, man, to kind of like just fall apart, man. Like at this point, and then pretty much they talk about this is what representation looks like, right? Video games have long resembled comic books, books and fantasy novels, in that there are heroes tend, man, to be cisgender, heterosexual, white males as it stands. Games appeal more to people that they adequately represent. So what does trans representation look like in gaming right now? In what form would the future improvements be? Right, a handful of characters that they they talk about Kareem here, a character, man, like in Dragon Age, in Inquisition. You know what I'm saying? Kareem was born a woman and now chooses to live as a man. Right? I mean, like, how many women in these kind of games, right, just do that kind of shit, right? And technically their mindset is never really like, or at least like they probably made it in this, because I have Dragon Age Inquisition. I never beat it, but I'm like most of the time, man, like when they do things like this, like with characters like Kareem, because again, Kareem kind of got them, BioWare like the GLAAD award, because they asked a lot of trans people, is this man how man we represent we represent you, right? Even though technically most of the time when this does happen in series, right, the girl like dresses as a guy and whatnot, because again she wants to be taken way more seriously. It's not because man like yo man like you say yo like I feel a certain way. It's never one of those things, right? And they kind of go into that here, and then pretty much they talk about how like the game by Don't Nod Entertainment, of them coming out with a game called Tell Me Why, where that the siblings of Allison and Tyler, and this is Tyler here, right? Tyler is basically like was born a girl and transitioned to a boy, right? And they're like that, they move back to their hometown and whatever, and you know, wackiness ensues. And then pretty much I think about that and I'm like, do you know why this isn't a problem really? Or at least like I feel nothing, man, like for this one here, man, like the Tell Me Why thing, or at least I feel no anger for it. Reason being is because this is a brand new IP that, man, is untainted and you can do whatever you want, right? You know that game, man, like Going Home, the one like that, man, was marketed as like a horror game with you running around the house and whatnot, man, cutting on lights and reading messages about, man, your sister who turned out to be a lesbian. Honestly, I like that. Reason being because it was its own thing, right? This is not a problem because it is its own thing. Now, mind you, I could care less about representation in anything. If they never decided, man, to make another black protagonist in a video game, I couldn't care less. It is what it is, right? But I'm like, for all this, like force, like me, you know, that kind of thing. Just get into the industry, make your own games, and you'll be fine. Stop forcing this stuff into the sequels, into the worlds, into things like that you have no reason to be bothered with. It's very crazy to me, right? You know. Now, honestly, closing this off, right, they keep talking about if we can empathize, they kind of drop me like a few articles talking about what does character creation mean, man, for people out there who have gender dysphoria or whatever, or people like who are transitioning, or people who are not non-binary, that kind of thing. And then, the psychiatry of that, and our long-term aspiration for this work is that video games may be harnessed for a good. Remember back when video games came out, right? Where like that, we were playing as a blue hedgehog. We were playing as a fat Italian who wasn't in Italy, who jumps on mushroom monsters and eats mushrooms to grow bigger. You guys remember that? Remember your childhood when you, man, were just a fox flying in space, like shooting things. You remember when, man, like you were just a little elf, a dang elf, a little elf boy exploring caves, and man, like a woman bounty hunter in space. Remember those days? Because I do, because they were fun. Now everything is just complicated for no reason, and it's just silly. I am going, man, to leave you guys here. Please tell me what you think about this in the comment section. Catch you guys on the next Jongravesshow. I had to get this off of my chest, because this article, like, some people just don't get it. I swear. I'm out.